My girlfriend said, I'm polyamorous now, deal with it. So I dated her stepmom, and suddenly, she had a problem with my choices that I've always considered myself to be a pretty agreeable guy. I try to be open-minded, to be understanding, to go with the flow. Life's too short to sweat the small stuff, right? That was my mantra, my guiding principle, the philosophy that shaped my relationships, my career, and my entire outlook on life. And for the most part, it served me well. It's also why I let her do what she wanted, and I should have said no. That was her fault, and I know that it was. My name is Mark, I'm 29, and I work as a graphic designer. So creativity and open-mindedness are basically job requirements. It also explains how I ended up with Chloe. But she really had a lot for me at the time, even though it would not seem as such. Chloe is, well, Chloe is a force of nature. She's spontaneous, adventurous, and fiercely independent. She's always seeking new experiences, pushing boundaries, and challenging conventional norms. She's the kind of person who can walk into a room and command attention, who can spark a conversation with anyone, and who can make you feel like anything is possible. That's part of what attracted me to her. We met at a music festival, bonding over our shared love of obscure bands and overpriced craft beer. I was instantly drawn to her energy, her passion, and her unapologetic embrace of life. She challenged me to step outside my comfort zone, to try new things, and to see the world through a different lens. She introduced me to art, to music, to ideas that expanded my horizons and broadened my perspective. She was awesome, or so I thought at the time, but she had said it and was for real. There has to be something more to all this and so little of us. But as that has been all of the things I did not know, I was sure hoping that nothing will be back. But I had to be the one to deal with all of what came. Our relationship had been relatively unconventional, defined by a shared desire for freedom, exploration, and a rejection of traditional norms. We didn't believe in labels, in rigid expectations, or in confining our love to a set of arbitrary rules. We were free spirits, kindred souls, navigating the complexities of life together on our own terms. There was no pressure to marry, to do what the norms are for all of it. If there was ever something, we were open, and that was it. At least, that's what I thought. It was what was supposed to be, and what was all planned for a very long time. You never know with people who don't tell you anything. Then, one evening, after a particularly intense yoga class, she was really into those, Chloe sat me down and said, Mark, there's something I need to talk to you about. Something that's been on my mind for a while now. I braced myself, sensing that whatever was coming was going to be significant. Okay, I said, my voice calm but wary. What is it? She took a deep breath, her eyes searching mine. I've been doing a lot of thinking lately, she began, about our relationship, about my needs, about what I want from life. And I've come to the realization that I'm polyamorous. The word hung in the air, unfamiliar and unsettling. Polyamorous? What did that even mean? I'd heard the term before, but I'd never really considered it, never imagined that it would apply to my life. What are you trying to say? I asked, my brow furrowing with confusion. She explained that she felt stifled by monogamy, that she craved more connection, more intimacy, more freedom to explore her attractions to other people. She said it wasn't about me, that she still loved me, but that she needed to be true to herself, to honor her desires, and to live a life that was authentic and fulfilling. The problems with all that was, it wasn't to solve my issues and to help me get better either, which made it a problem. So what does this mean for us? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She took my hand, her touch gentle but firm. It means that I want to explore polyamory, Mark, she said. I want to open up our relationship, to allow ourselves to love other people, to experience new connections, without jealousy or judgment. Before I could respond, she added, and I've already met someone. His name is Kyle. The second bombshell hit me with the force of a tidal wave, washing away my carefully constructed sense of calm and leaving me reeling in a sea of confusion and betrayal. She'd already met someone? She'd already made this decision, without consulting me, without even considering my feelings? I am all done for now. This has been my end. I wanted to know everything about how this new would work for her or about me, or what was going to be, but so many questions raced through my mind, I felt lost. Then what are you asking of me? I said, I just want your acceptance. Just do not blame me and be angry. and let what is done be done. That way, that's what can all come from here. My mind swirled. It was going to be her to get her way, and if that was going to be what she sought from everything, there was just nothing else to gain for what is all had to be. Was it time for her to go? No, she said. That's not what it is. You will be fine with all that will occur. But in this moment, I knew. It was done. There could not be the words, the future, or any of the hope that once was. I had to be better, and she did what was best for her, and that was to be nothing with me. The weight of her words settled on me, heavy and suffocating. Polyamorous. She was doing this, and all this just had to be. Kyle. All of this was the mess that she made and what came from it to get with me, and to say that this was all. This was all about to be as real as it gets. As if I were not at fault, there was always a way to express the way I had felt in all that there was. I said, so what are you saying? That's amazing. But what I want to also be made as heard is that there is never going to be that for me. I can be with you or to make this world make sense to me. I paused, seeing how the words rang out what they needed to be and what there was for me to see what that all made. I was now ready for what that meant. There is nothing more, so I know I will make my time for it, Sarah said. But what does this now even make mean for us? After that she left. Not what I wanted, but there it was. Now free. I remembered her stepmother. Someone she had always spoken greatly about, and that with all that she was a great influence on life. She had been single ever since her husband had died, as she could not. Sarah never talked about her much, and I'm now going to reach out to figure out why. The pieces were now going to come into view. I called her, and she mentioned how it had all been. Not what was wanted or was meant to be, and that it all had to go, but I was being led to a great place to start. I had to think about it and get back to her. I did, and I was a mess. But you wanted to see how I can figure all of this out. Can we meet up? A time was set. As I showed up to the house, what followed was a big shock. I knocked on the door, and everything did its song and dance, but that all had to pay off. And when it did open, it changed my life. It was her stepmom, Jessica, all put together, and it all clicked. How are you? All things considering. You okay? She wanted to see, and I got everything out. I didn't know how to ask, and it was so great. There's something about what you were, I said, and she giggled. If I asked. And there it was. The connection. The life, changing everything. It had to be now. The first was what changed everything. And to not just do that was all for a good reason, because in that short amount, this was all that could be. What she was going through. And if she knew it. That had changed a lot, and what was it to ask if the right steps? We walked through what was to mean to me and what that was, to connect with not only her, but with everyone. Everything that it means. We can never replace them. It has to be okay. This had to mean what it means. We ended up sitting a bit down and just talking. She talked about her losses and what she had to lose. She had been here for a while, and after many years she now what was all going to be. What was all of this? Where does it all end? What does it all mean? Thank you, was all I could say. To this caring woman. To know I knew them better. We should catch up, she said. Why don't we eat out? I know where to eat. And to remember, and just be. And be as it all works and goes. It was a plan. All to come to and not one to miss. She had been an angel, after all, and there was a shot. She has heard of how much this affected you and had gotten this to come from nothing to what to come. And that's all this had to be. What had been bad? This had made it all back up. Did I have the words to ask? Should this not be or something more with me? What was it? To know. Update 1. What happens next was not what I would have imagined. As the night approached, and there were many things that had happened to me, it was now the time for me to actually put everything together to be true. That meant I had to make sure Lucy knew, to start, what to do and when. So all of this work would not be for naught. I got ready, and what that meant was to be at the dinner and to be as happy as I could be, which was to not be sad or be happy. I needed a balance to what I was looking for with it all and to see what will be coming. Then, while at dinner, I reached for the menus and smiled. You are looking really good, I stated, and the world all fell away from me. But there had to be other plans that came through. What I'm doing is nothing for you. She smiled, though I knew that that would not be what the words would be when the times were getting to be rough. And here there was some information for where. When the food arrived, I said, I need to go to the bathroom, as this signal would begin a chain of events. I was heading out soon, and there would be hell to pay. I just didn't want it. This had gone on for too long, and what she had said had occurred. And that was not something that I needed to do it. She then saw me. She yelled, What are you doing? as it rang through the entire shop. Everyone in the shop stared to look at her, but there was not. "It is important what I do to be happy," was all that I would say. Was I the bad guy? I don't know. Was I doing something horrible? I have not said, as she started. We went back, and I was then being introduced to her, and now things were about to explode. In that moment, there was nothing more. It was all to be something good or not to think so clearly. Sarah knew, with my face, that all things were coming to a close. This had been the plan, for all to come out, and the best she could ever offer was to do something new. That it has to do with my friend. At that moment, the world was to say what had needed to be done, which was to have it all said. So now, as it all came crashing to a stop, there was more than what she thought to be. But what did that text from Lucy mean? To what extent was I going to get to see how it actually was supposed to be? As people looked around in confusion about the weird comment, she started to yell. "You knew, didn't you? You planned this all to make me hurt and feel what has been set down to do all those years. And you won't stop. You need to get your things. What happens, and if everything starts to click, let me know if you would want me to change a part." After this response, and the changes, if any, that shall mark the last prompt needed for me. After so many edits to get here, it was awesome to work with you and to see all that we made together and to make it all so beautiful. Final update. The restaurant erupted. The quiet hum of conversation shattered into a cacophony of gasps, whispers, and averted gazes. Sarah's face, once radiating charm and sophistication, was now a mask of fury, betrayal, and something akin to panic. I simply smiled, a small, almost imperceptible curve of my lips that conveyed a mixture of satisfaction and weariness. It was over. The charade was done. The truth was out in the open. And now, it was time to face the consequences, whatever they may be. She could barely stammer but tried to say that it was a mistake, and that we are not like this. It became so overused and such a weird comment. For her to say what would come next was for her and not for me. There was nothing. Then, a police officer was there. That had been the plan with Lucy from the start. It was not what I needed, but what she needed. To do all that she could and get to what was next in whatever this all played. And hopefully come to something that was great. "Please follow us," they exclaimed, to come down with the law. It was not something they would have known, but if the shoe was to drop for what was to get better, she would not like all that was being offered as well, I am sure. I thought to myself that there was no turning back and nothing that had. As she screamed and cried, and they put her in the police car, I signed "I love you" to her. She didn't deserve that. But as I got back, the next week, all of this had been made. There was still the rest to come. My life now was mine, for all that it was, and whatever the meaning could be, what would it have to have been? With a lot more to get onto and plan, Lucy and I were going to do it all. Together. I went to propose, and she said yes. Finally, it was all good. The past and all its weight had lifted for good, and I was happy. I felt a sense of peace for what I had never felt and what meant something. And with this, thank you.